dick, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
I do.
Well, that's very kind and respectful of you.
It wasn't intended to be kind or respectful.
I don't like the ad hominem attacks. I could respond in kind,
You can say what you like about me. I don't care.
A moment, enough. I've given you your moment.
I don't want a moment.
This is going to go viral, so please,
I don't want
enough.
A moment,
yes, you
Don.
do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do this. Otherwise, you would be a respectful journalist and host, and you would let me talk, but you're embarrassing yourself.
I then said, when you watch it back, do you really understand what you were saying?
This is why I don't do this, but you're embarrassing yourself, Piers.
Actually, you might be embarrassing yourself, Don. You just said you've no idea why they got rid of you.
I did.
So how do you know it wasn't to do with the clip we just played?
I just said that. I just answered your question. Now, what else do you want to talk about? Piers, are you kidding me?
No.
Bitter. I'm the happiest go lucky person ever. I'm just exposing your hypocrisy and how you lied to me about what you wanted to discuss.
I've never talked to you about this interview.
All right, guys, so you're about to watch Don Lemon have one of the most embarrassing public meltdowns I've ever seen. And I mean that. This is genuinely painful to watch. Piers Morgan brings him on, asks him a completely normal question about cancel culture, something Don himself brought up, and Don just completely loses it. Like, dude starts accusing Piers of ambushing him, gets defensive, throws a tantrum, calls Piers names, and then acts like he's the victim. It's actually insane. And here's the thing, this whole exchange tells you everything you need to know about why mainstream media is dying. These people can't handle being asked basic questions. They want to control the narrative so badly that when someone pushes back even a little bit, they fall apart. Watch how quickly Don goes from trying to sound reasonable to just completely unraveling. This is going to be good. Let's get into it.
You were a victim of cancel culture at CNN.
I don't think, I look at everything as an opportunity. Probably, yes. I'm sure that I was a victim of cancel culture, but I would say mostly on the right for cancel culture.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, this is what led to you leaving CNN. Let's take a look at the clip.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that.
When you watch that, Don, I happened to be watching that live, and I was like, "Whoa, what did you just say?" I mean, if you had a do-over, would you say that again? I mean, what led you to say that?
Okay, Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out, when I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about freedom of speech in America and the response to Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
Not once did you mention that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview. You have invited me on many times, and I tell you, Piers, I know you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels. And so when you said I'm not going to be involved in a panel, I agreed to come on your show. But I thought you would also stick by the subjects that you told me that you were going to talk about.
Just to be clear,
rather than try to ambush me with something.
Just to be clear,
so,
you and I haven't. Well, Don, just to be clear, you and I haven't had any conversation about your appearance here. You're talking about my team talking to you.
Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you. Yeah. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels.
Right.
And I said the same thing to your bookers.
There's only one of you.
And so when I asked you, right. Okay, and so, yes, and I said that's why I agreed to do it. But when you asked me, or when your team asked me what subjects, and I asked them 2 or 3 times, I have the text messages, what do you want to cover? Yeah. Not once was CNN mentioned. So I don't appreciate being ambushed, but let me answer your question.
Hang on one second. No, Don, hang on 1 second. Let's just be crystal clear about what's just happened. You brought up the subject of cancel culture. I asked you, did you feel your departure from CNN was an example of that? And you answered the question. And I think it's perfectly reasonable.
And I answered the question.
Perfectly reasonable in that if you'd said to me, I don't want to talk about it, fine. No, but hang on, no, so sorry. You said what you're going to say. By the way, we don't.
Disingenuous.
Don, we don't edit.
I don't like arguing like this. I'm not going to get into an argument with you. Piers, I think that's completely disingenuous. And I think anyone watching that,
what are you talking about?
And so if you will let me, if you will allow me, please
what are you talking about?
Me, okay? Did you invite me here to interrupt me, or are you going to let me?
I think you're being
a
complete dick, if I'm honest with you. I do.
Well, that's very kind and respectful of you.
It wasn't intended to be kind or
I don't like the ad
respectful.
hominem attacks. I could respond in kind,
You
but
can say
I
what you
won't
like about
because
me. I don't care.
I think that I'm above that. I'm not going to do that, Piers. That's not who I am.
I don't understand
do
why
ad
you're
hominem
playing the
attacks.
victim card
I
when you
don't do personal
yourself
attacks.
mentioned cancel culture.
Because Piers, oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let me do this.
What are you going to do? Read out my
If you
team's
want me
messages
to do this,
to you?
Piers, it should be embarrassing. Yeah, I can read out the team messages to you because I
What
just
are
think
you
it's
prepared to
completely
talk about,
unfair,
then, Don?
and you know that. I'm prepared to answer your question, and then I'm going to move on. I told you I'm prepared to talk about Charlie Kirk's death, the response to it, and cancel culture, and and freedom of the press, and freedom of speech.
You were prepared to talk about cancel culture, or you weren't?
Unless you. No. I'm not prepared
you're not prepared to talk about
cancel culture. But that has, oh my God, Piers, could you stop interrupting me?
Not really. You're kind of exhausting me. It's ridiculous. Why would you react this way to a perfectly normal? Obviously, if you mention cancel culture, obviously it's rational and logical that I would ask you whether you felt what happened to you at CNN was that. I play the clip and then you throw a hissy fit.
I've given you a moment. Enough. I've given you your moment.
I don't want a moment.
This is going to go viral. So please,
I don't want a moment,
yes, you
Don.
do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do this. Otherwise, you would be a respectful journalist and host, and you would let me talk.
I don't think I'll take lectures on being a respectful journalist
because
from
you want
Don.
a moment. Oh my gosh, Piers.
I won't.
I can't even hear because there's a delay and you keep talking. And what do you want me to do? Like rip the earpiece out in the mic and run off so you have a moment?
No, I don't care.
Are you
do
going to let
whatever
me answer
you
the
like.
question? Are you just going to keep pillaring me with questions?
I don't know why you've gone on this weird rant. I don't
answer?
understand any of it. Why have you done this weird reaction? I simply asked you about whether you felt your departure from CNN was, in your eyes, an example of cancel culture. I played the clip,
Piers,
and
you're
I then
embarrassing
said,
yourself,
I then said,
and I tried
when you
to-
watch it back, do you
Piers,
really understand what you were saying?
This is why I don't do this, but you're embarrassing yourself, Piers.
Actually, you might be embarrassing
and
yourself,
you are-
Don.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, you might be. Have you thought of that?
Okay.
You're a journalist. You don't want to talk about a story, a massive story that involved you?
Piers, can we move on? You can let me answer the question, and then we can talk about the things that you invited me on to
Why
talk
don't you just
about.
answer the question to start with?
And we've gotten so far away from what you wanted me to answer that we're off into la la land. So let me say something about that. The clip that you played had nothing to do with me leaving CNN, okay? And unless you know something that I don't know about me leaving CNN, then you should tell me about it. It had nothing to do. I worked there for months after that, so that had nothing to do with it. And so, and I forget the other thing that you were asking me about in that clip. But
I asked you when you watched the clip back,
move on.
if you could explain what was going through your mind, that's all.
Thank you. I think the key phrases in that clip, if you want to be honest, and I want you to listen to it, is that I'm not saying that I believe that. That's not according to me. What I was speaking for there is how society treats women. And someone like Nikki Haley should know if women have been discriminated against for centuries. She should be more careful than to say something that discriminates against older people. That's it. And so people took that out of context. No one puts in whenever they write about it that I said, I'm not saying that. I don't believe.
Okay, so let me break down what just happened here, because this is absolutely wild. Don Lemon comes on the show, brings up cancel culture himself, and then, when Piers asks him a completely legitimate follow-up question about his CNN firing, Don acts like he's been ambushed. Like, are you serious right now? You brought it up, dude. And look at the tactics he's using here. He's deflecting, he's playing victim, he's trying to control what questions can be asked. This is what media elites do when they lose control of the conversation. They can't just answer a simple question. Instead, Don starts whining about how Piers' team didn't tell him they'd talk about CNN. But here's the thing. He literally brought up cancel culture. What did he think was going to happen? Did he think Piers was just going to nod along and not ask the most obvious question in the world? And then, and this is my favorite part, Don calls Piers a complete dick on live television. Just straight up meme calling like a child who didn't get his way. And then immediately tries to take the high road by saying, I'm above that. Bro, you just called the guy a dick. You're not above anything. You just did it. What's actually happening here is Don knows he screwed up at CNN. He knows that women in their prime comment was indefensible. And instead of just owning it or explaining it clearly, he's trying to reframe the entire conversation as Piers being unfair. But watch Piers here. He stays calm. He doesn't get rattled. He just keeps asking the question. That's how you handle someone trying to derail an interview. The funniest part is, Don keeps saying, "Let me answer the question," while simultaneously refusing to answer the question. He's doing everything except answering. He's complaining about the bookers, he's reading texts, he's accusing Piers of wanting a viral moment. Dude, you're the one creating the viral moment by melting down. If you just answered the question in 10 seconds, this would have been over. And look, I know you guys see this. This is classic mainstream media behavior. They want softball interviews where they control the narrative. They want friendly journalists who won't push back. And when they encounter someone like Piers who actually asks real questions, even basic ones, they can't handle it. They fall apart. This is why independent media is destroying legacy media. Because people are tired of watching elites dodge questions and play victim when they get the slightest bit of pushback. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Don's reaction here. Watch what happens next because it somehow gets even worse.
That I said that very clearly there. So that is not the reason that I was let go from CNN. And so again, unless you know something, then go ahead.
Well,
and tell
as
me,
you know, it was widely reported that was. So
that's not what I know.
So what was the reason?
Don't believe everything you read.
What was the reason?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
But it all happened after that incident. You know that.
Yeah. Well, Piers, everything happens after something. I don't understand what your point is.
Well, my point is, I think it's quite newsworthy. If you say it had nothing to do with that, then it'll raise the obvious question.
I don't think it's newsworthy, Piers. That was 3 years ago.
Right.
That's it's not newsworthy. That news means something that's new. This isn't new.
Right.
That was 3 years ago. That's
okay,
been
but
all litigated.
It's
if
the
you want
first
to find
time
out about it, you are free to be able to read the interviews that I read. You're free to read the statement that perhaps your folks should pull up the statement when I left CNN, and that can explain to you what happened. So this is nothing new.
You
it's
just
all
told me
water
you've
under
no
the bridge.
idea why you were let go.
On. I'm doing something completely different, and so that's that.
Right, but you just said you've no idea why they got rid of you.
I did.
So how do you know it wasn't to do with the clip we just played?
I just said that. I just answered your question. Now, what else do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about, Dom?
The subjects that you invited me on to discuss, Piers.
I thought that included free speech and everything around that.
I know you're loving this viral moment. I just think that you're embarrassing yourself.
I don't think you understand me at all. I've got nothing against you at all. Never have had. I was perfectly...
Piers, you think I don't understand you? Piers, I worked with you for years. I know more about you probably than most people who are watching this program and a lot of the people who are working with you.
Why would I
worked with your staff. I inherited your staff at CNN. I know way more about you than I would care to know. I know way more about how you do business and how you approach journalism than I care to know. I have not been on anyone else's show. I don't want to be on anybody's show. I don't want to do panel shows. I don't want to argue with people about things that are inconsequential. What we should be talking about right now is how to keep what happened to Charlie Kirk from happening to anybody else. That's where the conversation should be. But instead, you're trying to get a moment. You're trying to make some news out of something. But go ahead. Have your fun. But we should be discussing something that is productive to the American people instead of you going into the garbage and trying to find something that will, give you a moment or that you will, get a click out of it or more viewers for your program.
You sound very bitter, Dom.
Piers, are you kidding me?
No.
Bitter. I'm the happiest go lucky person ever. I'm just exposing your hypocrisy and how you lied to me about what you wanted to discuss.
I've never talked to you about this interview at all.
You don't have conversations with your producers? So your producers lied to me, or you're not that involved?
You've admitted one of the subjects we wanted to talk to you about.
You're not that involved in the editorial process of your own show where they don't convey to you
by your own admission
what you are. What the guest is going to talk about on the program.
You obviously expected
not that involved in the editorial process of your own show that you don't know that, Piers?
You've already admitted that one of the subjects was free speech. And yet here you are getting enraged about me exercising my right to free speech to ask you a few questions.
All right, so let's talk about who won this. And it's not even close. Piers Morgan absolutely demolished Don Lemon here. Like, it wasn't a debate. It was a masterclass in how to interview someone who's trying to dodge questions. Here's what Piers did right. First, he stayed calm the entire time. Don was losing his mind, throwing insults, accusing him of ambushing him, and Piers just kept his composure. He didn't take the bait. He didn't get emotional. He just kept asking the question. That's how you win. Second, Piers exposed the hypocrisy immediately. Don brought up cancel culture, then got mad when asked about his own experience with it. That's insane. You can't bring up a topic and then refuse to discuss it when it applies to you. And Don, man, this was embarrassing. This is someone who used to be a primetime CNN anchor, and he's on here throwing a tantrum like a teenager who got asked to clean his room. He called Piers a dick. He accused him of wanting a viral moment while creating the viral moment himself. He kept saying, "Let me answer the question," while never actually answering the question. It's genuinely hard to watch. But here's what this really shows. Don Lemon, like so many mainstream media figures, cannot handle being challenged. They're so used to friendly interviews, so used to controlling the narrative, that when someone asks them a normal question, they short-circuit. They don't have the skills to defend their positions because they've never had to. They've been coddled their entire careers. And that women in their prime comment? Look, Don tried to explain it by saying he was talking about how society views women, not his personal view. Fine. But the problem is he said it so awkwardly, so poorly, that it sounded exactly like his personal view. And instead of just saying, "Yeah, I fumbled that, I should have been clearer," he blamed everyone else. Blamed the people who took it out of context. Blamed Piers for bringing it up. Never took accountability. This is why people don't trust mainstream media anymore. Because these are the people running it. People who can't answer simple questions. People who throw tantrums when challenged. People who call you names and then claim they're above name-calling in the same breath. And the final point Don made about free speech? That was rich. He spent the entire interview trying to control what questions could be asked, then accused Piers of not respecting free speech. Dude, free speech means Piers gets to ask whatever he wants. It doesn't mean you get to dictate the terms of the conversation. Piers handled this perfectly. He let Don expose himself. He didn't interrupt too much, didn't get defensive, just let Don spiral. And that's exactly what happened. Don spiraled. He came across as bitter, defensive, and unable to handle basic questioning. Meanwhile, Piers came across as a professional doing his job. If you enjoyed watching this absolute train wreck, smash that like button and subscribe to MB. We cover moments like this, where the mainstream media mask slips, and you see what these people are really like. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think Don had any valid points here, or was this just a complete meltdown? I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp.